New York City Councilman Erik Bottcher is a Democrat from Manhattan. So, Councilman, first, I lived in Manhattan for 5 years. There's been a lot of scandal controversies over the past several years. How much do New Yorkers care about George Santos?
Well, New Yorkers are outraged. The people I talk to, especially those who are in that district, they feel conned, defrauded. And let me say something about the GOP, who's now crying foul. The GOP out in that district, they knew that George Santos was shady. They knew he was sleazy. The hometown paper of Senator Jack Martin's endorsed against Santos. This is a paper that never endorses against Republicans. That paper called him out for being sleazy and shady, yet they went out and campaigned for him. So here they are calling foul, and people are just outraged and beside themselves.
Well, and there's a difference between embellishing and misleading and breaking the law, right? He is refusing to resign. Speaker Kevin McCarthy saying that the congressman will face the ethics committee. How big of a penalty or consequence do you think that George Santos would face right now?
My fear is that he's not going to face any penalty. And the big problem to me that isn't getting a lot of attention is the national security threat here. Members of Congress have access to classified national security information. George Santos, we don't know the source of his income. This is someone who declared an income of $55,000 in 2020 and $750,000 in 2022. Where did that money come from? This is a very, very serious problem for the country.
You know, there are a lot of people who've said this isn't the first time that we've seen a politician exaggerate their resume, make up fabrications. There are some in the GOP pointing to President Biden and Senators Elizabeth Warren and Richard Blumenthal, saying they've had fabrications over the years, but they didn't get quite as much attention. So do you think that there's a little bit more scrutiny over politicians, or do you think that there's any over-exaggeration as to how serious these concerns are?
I think this is totally different because here we have someone who has fabricated his entire identity. We don't know who this person really is. We've got a con man who's been elected to Congress, who's fabricated almost every element of his life. And the whole question of his finances is very, very serious. So this is another level of deception and a new low for our country, really, which is why, thank goodness, we're seeing him being ostracized, but we have yet to see him be ostracized by the Republican leadership in Congress. And that's what we need. When Anthony Weiner did what he did, Nancy Pelosi sat him down and said, "You should resign." That needs to happen with George Santos. Why hasn't that happened? It needs to happen today.
New York City Councilman Erik Bottcher, I know that there have been so many people vocal about this story and other stories out of New York, so we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.